Hi friends, welcome to Ajay Automation channel. I hope you are all doing good. So in today's video, we are going to see about the most commonly asked real-time scenario-based interview questions for automation testers from CICD test automation and Git version controlling. Okay, so these questions are asked in many interviews in 2025, and if you are preparing for automation interviews, please do watch this whole video because we have only 20 important questions for review. Okay, this will be definitely asked in many of your automation interviews. So let's quickly start. So the first question is, when your automation test pass locally but it's getting failed in the CI/CD pipeline execution, so what will you do here, or how will you debug? So as an automation engineer, you might execute your test locally as well as in CI/CD automation. So this question is really important to me because it will prove that you have really worked in CI/CD automation for a long time. Okay, so what will we do when tests execute locally and when the same test is getting failed in the pipeline? The first thing we will do is check the environment difference. That is, we'll check the environment difference between our local machine and the CI/CD setup, like browser version or what OS the CI/CD pipeline is getting running. So you might be in your local, you might be using Windows machine, and in your CI/CD pipeline it might run in Linux machine. So there might be OS specific issues, or there might be timeout issues. So initially we'll be checking the environment differences. Then what we can do we can check the test logs and test reports, thoroughly go through the reports and see if there are any locator specific issues in the pipeline alone. So you can work on it or add wait times accordingly for the pipeline execution. Okay, then what we can do, check the setup and dependencies. Make sure all your drivers, configuration files or tools required are set up both the way in local and in CI. Make sure all the setup has been completed in the CI pipeline also. So you might have missed some setup, you might have completed in local, but you might have missed it in you might have missed some dependencies in the pipeline. So add all those dependencies. Okay, and review the screenshots during test failure. So you can review the screenshots from the CI pipeline and see what exactly the error is. Okay, in this way we can debug the failure tests in CI pipeline. So this is one common issue faced by automation testers. Most of your tests will pass in local, but the same test will fail in pipeline. So please do prepare answer for this question. Okay, let's see the next question. So what challenges have you faced while configuring or performing CI/CD automation? This is also an important interview question. So you might have configured CI/CD automation or CI/CD pipeline execution. So what challenges you have faced, or what challenges you are currently facing during execution? So while configuring CI/CD automation, you might have worked on creating Docker images, okay, worked on configuring jobs, projects in Bamboo or pipeline. So you can talk about it. Say it was new to me, and new technology to me. I learned a lot, and I had faced initially issues like configuration issues. I don't know how Docker will work. I don't know how Docker configuration will work. So I learned a lot and implemented those things. So those challenges I have faced, and I faced issues like in local execution, some tests were passed. In CI, those tests were failing. So for debugging, I learned a lot and I solved those issues, and I implemented report and alert integration in CI pipeline. That was also one of the major challenges to me. Okay, these are all really important challenges an automation tester face while configuring or performing CI/CD automation. So please do prepare answer for this question also. These 4 points should be more than enough in the interview. Okay. So the next question is, how does CI/CD execution enhance test automation? You might be well aware of this question because in local your test is taking 1 hour to complete. So in pipeline it will be getting executed in 30 or 20 minutes, because in most of the pipeline we run tests in headless mode, which is way faster than local execution. That is one major advantage. Okay, it enhances test automation in CI/CD execution. Okay, so it's an advantage. You can talk about it. And as you know, whenever we do code push, your test will automatically run in the CI pipeline. You do not need any manual intervention to run the test in the pipeline. Okay, also in CI/CD pipeline you will be configuring tests to run every 24 hours, so it will detect bugs early. Consider your developer is pushing some code. Okay, and since your tests are running daily, if there are any issues in the build, it will identify easily. Here also no manual intervention is required. Okay, also CI pipeline provides faster feedback and quick alerts. Whenever build is failing, you might get an email saying your build is failed, this is the cause of the issue. So we'll immediately take a look, debug and fix that issue. Okay, so these are some of the major advantages, and this is how CI/CD execution enhances test automation. Okay, it's way faster than local execution. It helps in faster feedback, quick alerts, quality and speed is way faster and much more greater in CI/CD automation. Okay, so let's see the next question. How do you trigger selenium maven tests in Jenkins or Bamboo? You might be either working in Jenkins or Bamboo pipeline. So how do you trigger selenium maven tests? There are two ways. While configuring selenium maven tests in your pipeline, you might have configured webhook triggers. So that is, whenever you push some code to the repository, we will create a webhook trigger that whenever you detect code change, the pipeline should run automatically. This is one thing we will do while configuring our jobs in pipeline. And the second thing is, we will be scheduling a cron job. Okay, basically I want my jobs to be executed every 24 hours. So scheduled build job like cron job I'll be setting up in my pipeline, CI pipeline. Maybe it can be Jenkins or Bamboo. So this is how I trigger my selenium maven test in Jenkins or Bamboo, through git webhook trigger and scheduled sprint cron job. So know about these terms. In some interview or the other, you might face these questions. It's very important. It's and very good to know about these terms, even if you are like 2 to 5 year experienced candidates. So more than 5 year candidates, you are definitely going to receive these questions in some interview or the other. Okay, you might think that I am an automation tester. My role is only to do test execution or creating test scripts. No, you have to know about CI/CD automation, end-to-end flow, how test scripts are executed, everything. Okay, so these questions will be really useful. Okay, don't ignore any questions here. As I said, we have only 20 questions. Okay, so let's see the next question. How do you generate test reports in CI/CD? So not in local, they are asking how do you generate reports in CI/CD. Okay, so in local you might use TestNG reports or Allure reporting. So how do we generate those HTML reports in CI/CD automation? So consider you have completed executing your Selenium tests in Jenkins or Bamboo. So we need to see HTML reports in CI/CD. So what we can do is, during configuring our project, automation project in Jenkins and or Bamboo, go to manage Jenkins page and or manage plugins page in Bamboo and select HTML publisher plugin and install it. Okay, and in the post build actions also select as public HTML, publish HTML reports. In this way, whenever our Selenium test gets executed, we can go to the Jenkins or Bamboo logs page and review these HTML reports. So all the screenshots, how many test cases are passed, failed, will be present here. So if you get this question in the interview, talk about how you configure these things. Go to manage Jenkins, manage plugin, add the HTML report, and in post build actions, you selected publish HTML reports and you reviewed logs in logs page in Bamboo or Jenkins. So in logs, basically what we can see, how many tests are passed, what are the errors or failed status, we can see. Okay, so let's see the next question. How do you share CI/CD test results with a team? This is a tricky and easy question. Okay, so we are not going to share the results manually. So whenever your test execution gets completed in CI/CD platform, you might have configured alerts. Okay, basically you will give all the emails like your developer email, testers, managers and business owners, to make sure whenever your build gets executed or whenever your build gets failed, they get an email about the status of it. Okay, your CI/CD platform has the capability to auto email to these users configured in your Bamboo or Jenkins pipeline. Okay, this is how we share CI/CD test results with the team every day. You can configure in two ways: daily alert, or whenever your build is getting failed, alert the users. Okay, in this way we can share the test results with the whole team. Okay, let's see the next question. Have you used Docker to run Selenium tests in CI/CD? So mostly the answer is yes. Most of you might have configured Docker containers to run Selenium tests. So Docker is really useful because it runs the test so smoothly and it's way faster than local execution. Okay, so we can answer like, yes, I have used Docker container to run Selenium tests. It runs tests smoothly in the CI/CD pipeline, and we have configured YAML files required to define the test environment, and in the Docker file we have configured all the browsers and drivers. Okay, so let's see the next question. What is Jenkins or Bamboo agent, and how do you run Selenium tests in it? Okay, so you might have heard about agents, Bamboo agents or Jenkins agents. It's the actual machine that is running your Selenium tests. So you might either use Docker or agents. So if you are using Bamboo agents, it's the actual machine that runs your Selenium tests. Okay, it can be the same machine as your CI server. Okay, to run Selenium tests in the Bamboo agent, we will install Java, Maven and browsers, everything in the agent. Okay, then in your CI platform like Jenkins or Bamboo, we can assign that particular automation job to that particular agent. So we configured everything in the agent, and in the CI platform we can assign the automation job to the agent. So whenever a job is running in the CI platform, it pulls the latest code from your Git repository and runs our Selenium test. Okay, this is the purpose of Jenkins and Bamboo agent. But basically it's the machine you are running your Selenium test. Okay, so let's see the next question. So Docker or Jenkins or Bamboo agent, which one is more preferred? Okay, what do you prefer, Docker or Jenkins, Bamboo agent? So Docker is awesome, it's very useful for larger projects, whereas Bamboo or Jenkins projects is great when you want a simple setup without worrying about containers. It depends on your project needs. Docker is really awesome. As I said, Bamboo or Jenkins agent is also awesome, but it's great when you work in a simple setup without worrying about containers. Okay, so let's see the next question. How do you run cross-browser tests in CI/CD using Docker? So you might have already know about cross-browser testing. You might want to execute your Selenium tests in multiple browsers. So what we can do, we can separate Docker containers with different browsers configured. Okay, and in the pipeline we can run the test separately in each container for every browser. This way we can run the test in multiple browsers automatically in the containers. Okay, so let's see the next question. How do you set up a CI/CD pipeline to run Selenium tests from Git? So you have your Selenium test in your local machine. The question here is, how did you configure, or how can we configure the Selenium test CI/CD pipeline? What we need here is, initially we need a Git repository. So configure your Git repository and push the code to the Git repository. And you might use Jenkins or Bamboo in your project. So either one, create a project or job or pipeline in the Jenkins or Bamboo platform. So in the pipeline we need to configure few steps. Basically the pipeline has to be connected to your Git repository. So provide the Git URL in your CI/CD pipeline like Bamboo or Jenkins. Okay, and then add all the commands like mvn clean install, mvn test, so that the Selenium test will be running based on the job you are creating. It might be daily or weekly. Okay, and once the tests are configured in your pipeline, you can review the logs in the after test execution. Okay, you can also alert the team with email notification. Okay, this is how we can configure CI/CD pipeline to run Selenium tests from your repository. Basically you need a Git repository, you need Bamboo or Jenkins, and you need to configure your job or create a new project or job in your Jenkins, and we are good to go. Okay, so let's see the next question. What version control platform do you use, and how do you stage and commit files? Okay, so basically there are two questions here, so you can answer. We use Git as our version control system, and it's useful for hosting our repositories on our platforms like GitHub or Bitbucket. Okay, so how do you stage and commit files in Git? So these commands, git add dot, will help you stage all the modified files, and git commit along with the commit message is helpful to commit your code to your repository, and git push will help to push the code to your repository. Okay, so these commands help you track changes, commit your updates, and sync code from your local machine to your remote repository. Okay, so this is a basic question. So let's see the next question. So when configuring a new project in a Git repository, what initial steps do you perform to initialize Git and commit code? So this question really shows or proves that you have really worked on configuring Git repository. Okay, so this is very important. So initially we will do git init, that is initialize a new Git repository locally in your project folder. Open terminal or command prompt or do git init. That is the first step of configuring your Git repository. Okay, then you can do a git add dot to stage all the project files and do a git commit also to come along with the commit message to stage to make sure all the commits with the stage files are present with the message. Okay, then do git remote add origin and you will be having your Git repository URL. So this command helps to connect the local repository to your remote repository. And finally we use the command git push to push your initial commit to your main branch. Okay, so these are the initial commands you will use while configuring your Git repository initially in your project. Git initialize, git init, git add, git commit, git remote add your origin and do git push. So these basic commands are enough to configure your Git repository in your local project. Okay, so let's see the next question. While committing code, how do you ensure certain files are not included? So this is an important question. So I have talked about this question in some of the reels also. So while committing code, the interviewer says you should not commit large folders like node modules or test output. So what we can do, we can use .git ignore file. So what is the use of this file? If we do not want any large files not to get committed, we can mention those file names in the .git ignore file. Okay, this is the format present here. So if you do not want a large folder, use / and folder name and mention that folder name in the git ignore file so that during commit those files will not be committed. Okay, this is a really important interview question. So let's see the next question. What branching strategy do you follow in your project? So in most of the project they follow simple branching strategy, like you will be having a develop branch and you will be having a master branch. So develop branch contains the updates and test scripts which is under development. Okay, it's not so stable branch, but we follow two branching strategies. Master will be more stable than develop branch, but because in develop branch multiple persons might push their code and the pipelines might not work consistently in develop branch. Okay, so when you get this question, say you have two, we are following a basic git branching strategy. We have two branches like develop and master. So master branch contains more stable code and production ready automation code. Okay, all new changes by multiple team members are committed to the development branch and it's also thoroughly tested, but master branch will be more stable one. Okay, let's see the next question. How do you handle merge conflicts, especially in test scripts or configuration files? If you have worked in Git repository or any version controlling platform, you would have definitely seen a merge conflict. Okay, so first explain when a merge conflict will occur and then explain the steps to handle merge conflict. So using git status, start by checking the conflicted files. Okay, then open the conflicted file and you can see these markers like head or double equal to. Okay, remove those and add your changes, and once you have resolved those files, use git add and file name, give the file name and do a git commit. And finally, as you know, you should do git push. In this way we can resolve conflict. First identify the conflicts using git status, resolve the conflicts and add your code. Okay, then do git commit, git add, git commit and git push. Okay, so in this way we'll be able to handle merge conflicts in your test scripts. So please note, if you are merging into a feature branch and rebasing, you might continue the rebase with git rebase continue. Okay, so let's see the next question. So you committed some changes locally but forgot to add few files. Okay, you committed but you forgot to add few files. So how do you add those files without creating a new commit? So we have a command called as git commit amend. So what it will do, it will update the most recent commit without creating a new one. So talk about this git commit amend for this question. Okay, this is useful when you want to fix or add to your last commit. Okay, keeping your commit history clean. Okay, so let's see the next question. your teammate made changes on the same file and branch you are working on. So you are an automation engineer and multiple person will work on the same branch, develop branch, and so your teammate made changes on the same file and branch you are working on. How do you update your local branch without losing your changes? So it's really important you do not lose your changes, right? So how do you update? So initially what we can do is do a git stash. So I would first stash my local changes using git stash, then pull the latest changes from your remote branch with git pull. Okay, initially do git stash and stash your local changes, then do git pull and pull the latest changes from the remote repository. Finally reapply your stashed changes using git stash pop. Okay, this will ensure your local changes are not lost and you get the latest updates from your teammates commits. Okay, so let's see the next question. You want to keep your local branch updated with the remote without losing your local commits. How? So there are two ways here. Fetch the latest changes from the remote repository using git fetch, and finally rebase your local commits on the top of the updated remote branch using git rebase. Okay, so this will keep your commit history clean and linear and ensures your work is up to date without overwriting or losing commits. Okay, this is also an important interview question. Okay, so we have come to end of today's video and we have seen around 20 interview scenario based questions from version controlling and CICD automation. So these questions few people might find it tough, but somewhere you are going to get this question. So please do prepare your own answer also along with the points I have given. Please do prepare your own answer. Okay, so as you know, we are preparing a booklet for real world scenario based questions, and the book should contain almost 70 to 90% of your interview question. Okay, we are halfway done and many people have reviewed and provided their comments. We are working on creating the booklet and we will soon launch it online. Okay, and if you have any training queries, please do email us, and please do like and subscribe our channel and watch out for more interview preparation videos or interview tips. Okay, so this is Ajay signing off for the day. Have a great day. Bye, take care.